Welcome to another episode of the First Flame Scrolls. I'm Kathleen Haley. In today's episode, I'm feeling to speak further about the difference between the inversion field and the harmonic field. This might end up a little bit technical. I'm not sure in the direction in which the energy is taking me right now, but in order to have a mirror, we have to have something to reflect. And I've spoken about this before that what I'm referring to as the inversion field is a field of energy. It's considered like dark matter energy. It's a siphoning field of energy. And this is the energetic field in which humanity has been living in. And it's the mirror image of the harmonic field. The harmonic field is the organic field of energy. And, the average person probably listening to this says, what are you talking about? Field of energy? What do you mean? Well, imagine that you're living in a bubble and you don't know that you're living in a bubble, and that bubble has a frequency to it, and that frequency is guiding you. Just like we have air, we have oxygen and we have nitrogen, we have all these different things within the air, and some we can breathe, excuse me, and some we cannot. Well, there are there's an energy here that's directing your consciousness, that's directing you, that is limited. And it's limited because it's a mirror image of the organic field, which is unlimited. And just like a physical mirror, think about a physical mirror. When you look into a physical mirror, it's opposite. It's backwards, of course, because it's a reflection of you. It's an opposite version of you. So it's not the organic version of you. And this is the field of energy that humanity has been operating within. And what is the operating system? Well, the body, right? And really, the body, um, through energy, doesn't have a limited operating system, but the physical body appears to, right? We have the brain, we have the heart, we have the liver, we have all the organs that are functioning in specifics, and they're meant to be in harmony and relationship with each other, and they play specific roles within the body in order to have what we recognize as a physical life, and how we eat food, and how we, how the operating system occurs within the body. And so humanity thinks of the body as physical, right? And that it is the way that it is, and we think of ourselves as human, which we are, but really human is HU, man, which is really God energy. It's really a God physicality. And so the design of the human body, in the for the harmonic aspect of this earth experience, and what's meant to happen in this earth experience, it's an experiment called Earth, and the Earth consists of 12-dimensional fields. So everything that you see, all of the planets are all part of this dimensional field called Earth. So it's not just the physical Earth itself, it's all of the planets that are all part of this. And this experiment is meant to have, through the human, we have the ability through the design of this physical body. uh, it has the greatest ability to organically house and operate as pure source consciousness, as God, if you will, in the bigger sense of the energy field. And what I mean by that is that all things are source consciousness, all is energy and frequency, and it's a quantum field. But the way the human has been designed, the design of it is very specific in that it allows for the purest, greatest experience of the pure harmonic field of source consciousness to experience physicality, the idea of physicality. So it's why the head is where it is, the legs are where they are. And I've written a book called The Body Remembered, and it talks a lot about this. And several of the books that I have begin to talk about this. And so, the harmonic design of the body when all things are in harmony, and I explained this, I think, in the last video, is that so the cellular body is its own energetic field. And when it chooses to come together in a harmonious way, then it chooses to become the design of the physical body. But the expression of how each physical body comes out has to do with the soul that's communicating with it, the essence. So, and again, the soul, if you will, is information, and that's you. You're a library of information of source consciousness, and your desire to come into a physical body creates your physical body. You create your body connected to your desire to participate in physicality. Your library of information basically is the owner's manual of how your body not only operates but shows up in physicality. And whether it has what we think is the normal or not or whatever. So it carries that naturally in all different ways. And as you come into greater levels of embodiment, your body remembers. Now, so if we were in the harmonic field, then your body would come in its purest essence. And as I've mentioned before, the body is not meant to die. It's not meant to be sick. It's not meant to limit limitations because it's pure source consciousness operating through the cellular body, connected to all of the elements as one with the elements with Gaia. And so this earth experience is meant to be the experience of love, truth, beauty, and goodness, and all things connected to that, creating as source consciousness through what we think is a vehicle called a physical body. And, through the harmonics, through the organic experience, there's a natural flow. And so in the design of the physical body, the brain is designed as a receiver, and it receives information. It's meant to receive information continually from the all, which is the universal field, not just this 12th dimensional field, but beyond that, and the earth itself, the experiences. So all of the organic elements, earth, fire, air, water, ether, and everything here. So it's meant to receive this information by the experience of your soul, communicating to this physical body, and that communicates through the heart and through the nervous system, and how that operates is through experience. So if you imagine yourself as just like here I am as a human, and I have these things that are in harmony, and you don't necessarily know them. I mean, you do and you don't. Like I can see the quantum levels of everything. So I'm trying to bring it down so that it's not too much in the physical brain to try to take in this information. But it's like, so the natural functioning would be that the body is growing, and as the body is growing, there's a communication with the soul element of, this what becomes a fetus, what becomes that, and this is the what we would say is the higher self, and it's communicating, sort of organizing the cellular body to come out, male, female, whatever, eye color, hair color, da, 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 all the different things that want to come through. But the soul has already kind of picked the parents and picked the essence. So there's a generality of how things want to come into form. And and it's the higher self communicating. And so then once the body is completed in its formality, the form of the body, and birth has occurred, and birth is not meant to be a horrific experience. It's meant to be a very natural, very smooth experience. Once the birth has occurred, and also the umbilical is not meant to be cut right away. So if that stays, on, and there's this direct communication, then what begins to happen during that time is the essence of, the soul comes down another level. So everything is frequency and energy. In order to be pure source consciousness, it's vibrating at a really fast rate. Well, that needs to lower itself, slow down, in order to come into a physicality and begin to communicate. So it slows itself down. So it's like the oversoul is the one that's always in energy, that's like the sort of overseer, the more communicative one, the larger self that is vibrating at the fastest rate of source consciousness, and then that's communicating to what we think of as the higher self. And there are other tier levels, but this, and that higher self is the one that comes down closer and begins to communicate to the body. And then what ends up in the physical body is what we refer to as the ego self. And this is an aspect of ourself, if we're still in the harmonic field, that is the one that's kind of awake and begins to have the physical experience, recognizes the body, recognizes, is communicating with the body, starts to recognize how the elements are operating with the organs, with the air and the water and all of that, and then with ourselves. So it's more of a curiosity recognition that's taking place that we call the ego. So it's not becoming something, it's observing and learning from the oversoul, from the higher self, who it is. And then it becomes a pure experience. This is what the design is in the harmonic field, is pure experience of like, oh, curiosity and so on. And with that, from the quantum field itself, creation is already occurring, because creation starts in the invisible and becomes visible. And so, what is creation? Creation is energy and frequency showing up. So, we may not at that point see things that we think are physical, but there is a physical creation, because even like our physical body radiating at the harmonic level is, let's just say, it's feeding the plants, and the plants are feeding us, and without eating, we don't even know that. Now we've come into eating, but this is why the whole idea of breatharian and all that, but that's a whole other story. But there's all this information going on, and in the harmonic field, the DNA in the body is the conduit of the higher level of information that begins to communicate to the body. So, in the original design, we have 12 strands that are on. We actually have way more strands of DNA that are available to us, but the original design is a 12-strand DNA that also operates in the organic field with information. So think of the DNA as like, a higher level operating system, communication system. So the brain is a receiver, just like a conduit. It's more of almost like a pass-through is what it's meant to be, just allowing information to be reasoned from the densest level that we have, which is the physical body. But the DNA is like the higher level of that. So the DNA is recognizes all energy and all information. And the DNA, if it's at its organic level, be depending on again your soul library of information, it communicates with all things at a different level to create like who you actually are and how you actually want to show up and sort of almost like what you want to do, what you want to become in the physical world. There's like levels of this, right? So the first level through the mind is just a conduit of information and it's just the experiencer. So I'm just kind of here, I'm chilling out. I'm at, if we're in the harmonic field, then I'm just relaxed and I'm just me. Well, what begins to drive me, so to speak, to become something in the organic field is the connection of my DNA to all things. And this is where for those that recognize, like other dimensional fields or other energies, or even what we say that, like the DNA of other species and things, it's really not that the DNA has been physically changed. It's that the DNA is the influence, the information is being blocked or pushed into our DNA. And so, we've been so in the inversion field being a mirror, it shut down, but it didn't do it. This is the interesting thing, right? We did it. We shut down our own DNA field by directing our consciousness to only in certain directions. And this is the biggest piece is that, there's no victimhood, there's no good or bad, right or wrong, there's nothing like that. There's simply a mirror field of energy. And the mirror field, like I said, has to mirror something. So it mirrors the harmonic field. So the harmonic field is flowing and open. And so the mirror field of that is patterns and structure. And so, if you notice what we've been living in, excuse me, is patterns and structure. If I do this methodology, then I will receive this. If I follow this plan, I will do this. And that's all the mirror. But if you really recognize what I'm sharing with you, there is a very organic way. And because again, I'm going to emphasize that the harmonic is the mirror field is mirroring the harmonic, right? So in the patterning, there are what might seem as patterns, excuse me, in the harmonic field. There are number sequences like the number 3, 6, 9, 12. They're important because 3 is source. Why is 3 source? Because it's the here, there, the neither here nor there, which is the all, right? It's the neutral and the positive or negative, which isn't really negative. It's the masculine and feminine, and then the neutrality. So there's so there's 3, and then there is and three threes, is 9, which is a completion, and why? Because that's again a whole. It's a whole unit of source, and I don't want to get too complicated into that, but I'm sharing that because the harmonic field does have a sense of structure, but it is a structural element of how things move in harmony together. It's not limits and limitations. The inorganic field, the inversion field structure is very limited. It has patterns that if you don't follow this, this won't happen. Okay. Whew. If you notice, I clear my throat at different times when I start talking more in the inversion way because the energy moves through this conduit through my physical body, and the energy that's moving through the throat is the truth of humanity, where humanity's at the edge of a very massive awakening. And so even as I'm breathing, I can feel that starting to come back in my throat. And so, there's all this disclosure, there's all these different things that are going on, but what's really happening is in the idea of waking up is, will humanity recognize that they're looping and looping in patterns, and will they simply drop into the present moment? Will they simply allow themselves to um, you know come into a level of embodiment? Embodiment is the key to this experience. Embodiment is the surrender, the letting go, the being present in this field of energy. Yeah, there's a lot, excuse me, there's a lot coming through the field at this present moment. Ooh, let me just clear the energetic here. Okay. Ooh. Well, I feel that this transmission, excuse me, is coming into a harmony and a balance. So I think what wants to be brought forward for those that are listening to this now moment is that this is way simpler than you recognize. And everything that's happening in the external world is happening to distract you, to keep you from dropping in to who you really are and starting to have what I just described, if you re-listen to this, to come into that recognition that my physical body is communicating with the physical world. And what is it communicating? And what am I doing? And I've talked about this a lot, that the body's everything. This is the millionaire. This is the relationship. This is everything. And, I am source consciousness having a physical experience through this physical body. I'm sorry, there's just so much coming through the throat. Let me take a breath here. So, and I know why that keeps happening, that I keep clearing my throat because I know that those that are listening to this, and even though at this present moment it's not live, but it is live because it's a quantum field, are moving this energy through the mind. And what happens is when we move this through the mind, in my body, I feel the congestion because that's pulling out the truth. The truth is coming through the throat about who we really are. And there's a desire to become that we are. But the truth is, you already are that you are. And the becoming is allowing yourself to get to know yourself. Because this is a magnificent body, and the earth is magnificent, and the experience is meant to be beautiful and light and amazing and fun. We're not meant to be driven to survive and to create something that just grabs money or grabs things. We're meant to express ourselves, to expand ourselves. And yes, in this particular world right now, it is connected to money. So as you are stepping into greater levels of expression, you will have abundance come into your field. But you're so much more than you can possibly recognize. Okay. Well, I'm feeling this transmission is coming down. There were a few energies trying to come in, distractions during the time. So I apologize for any, particularly of the clearing of the throat, but that's inevitable. Okay. Well, until next time, I'm Kathleen Haley, First Flame of Source. Take care and speak to you again.